Last week with section 1.5, we talked about 3 different types of graphs. Okay? We talked about linear, which is y equals mx plus b. We talked about absolute value, which is the graphs look like these. And then we talked about quadratic, which the graphs look like U's. Okay? So we're going to review all 3 of those graphs today on this review worksheet. Okay, so first step is always rewrite it as 2 equations. So my first one is going to be y equals 4x plus 6. And then my second equation is going to be the other side, y equals negative 8x minus 10. Okay, so first step is always going to be to rewrite the 2 equations as their own separate equations. Okay, now we're following the equation y equals mx plus b. That's our slope-intercept form. So these lines are going to be linear. Okay. Looking at that red line, where is my starting point? 6 where?
On the y.
Yep, up 6 from the origin. Are we ever going to graph our starting point on the x-axis? No, always go on the y-axis. Okay, from here, how do I get the rest of my points? Yep, remember if we have a whole number, it's going to be over 1. So up 4 over 1. You want to go throughout the whole graph.
So down 4 over 1.
Yep.
To the left?
Yep, because you want it to end up as a line. And then draw your line. Okay, now my blue line, where's my starting point? Negative 10 on the y-axis, and then my slope is
Go up 4 left 1. So negative 8.
this one right here, my blue one.
Yeah.
I'm going to go up 8.
Up 8 left 1.
Yep, why did you go left 1?
Because you can't go down and right.
Right, it's because it's negative here, so making sure our line is staying negative. Okay, so keep going up 8 over 1, and then draw your line. What are my solutions to these graphs? How do I know if I have a solution?
If it crosses.
If it crosses, right? How many solutions do we have for this one?
1.
We have 1. Okay. Is it nice?
No.
Like, is it nice to write? No. Okay. So you would write it as a coordinate. On this one, it's not nice, okay, but just put negative 1.5 and positive 0.5. Okay, that's where it crosses for us. I made these up, so that's why they're not nice, okay, on your worksheets and stuff. They hopefully will be nice, okay. What if it asked you for the x value? X equals?
1.5.
Negative 1.5. What if it asked you for the y value? Positive 0.5. Yep. Okay, so remember we're graphing them, and their solution is where they cross, okay? Questions on the linear one? All right, go ahead and try this next one on your own. On that 3/4, I want it to be positive 3/4. That 3/4 is a positive 3/4, not negative, positive. This one, first thing I want to do is what? Rewrite, right? What's my first one?
Minus 2.
Yep. And then my second one?
Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 1.
Yep. Okay. Graphing that red one, where do I start?
Negative 2 on the y.
Negative 2 on the y. Where do I go from there?
Up 3, right 4.
Up 3 over 4. Up 3 over 4. And then go in all directions. And draw your line.
Straight line.
Thank you.
I still know how you do it. I've been wondering this since last year.
Okay. The blue one, where do I go? Plus 1. And then where?
Down 1, right, left 2.
If I went left 2, is that a positive or negative slope?
Negative. I don't know.
That's going up, right? Because we read left to right.
Did I do it backwards?
That's going up, but we want a negative slope, so we need to go the other direction. Okay, so we need to go this way. Yep. Okay. How many solutions do we have? How many solutions do we have?
Yes.
1.
We have one, right? They cross at one spot. It's not nice again, okay, but we'll label this one 2.5 and negative 0.5. What would my x value be if it asked for my x value? X equals 2.5. My y value would be negative 0.5. Okay? Biggest thing with the linear equations is knowing if you have a negative or a positive slope. Okay, if it's a negative slope, our line's going down. If it's a positive slope, our line's going up. Okay? Questions on linear equations. Now we have an absolute value equation and a linear equation. Still the same thing, rewrite them as two separate equations. So we have y equals absolute value of x minus 4 plus 2. And then our other one, we have y equals 1/2 x plus 3. Which one of these do we know how to graph right away?
The second one.
The second one. Okay, where do I start?
Plus 3.
Up 3.
On the y.
Yep. And then from there, where do I go?
Up 1, right 2.
Yep, up 1, right 2. Or down 1, left 2. Okay, that one's done. What about the absolute value one? Again, what do the absolute value graphs look like? What should they look like?
A V.
A V, right? And it's positive, so we're going to be an upright V of what it's going to look like. Okay, so absolute value is always going to look like a V. Okay, but you have to be careful. Is it going to be an upright V or is it going to be upside down? Okay, in this case, there's no negative here, so it's going to be upright. Okay. Where do we start? How do we figure out where we start?
Plus
Good try. It's not like the linear equations. Okay. So our parent function's at 0. Okay, but these numbers tell us something different, right? So from the 0, let's look at this plus 2. What does that plus 2 tell me?
2. Up 2.
Up 2. Yep.
Left 4.
Now, careful.
Right 4.
Right, we have to think opposite. Okay, so we're going right. Oh, can't spell. Right 4. Up 2. That's where we get our starting point from. Okay, remember if it's inside with the x, that's moving the x value. Okay, and you have to think the opposite direction. If it's outside the absolute values, that's moving your y value, and that one's the way you think. Okay, so starting at the origin, I go right 4. I'm just listening to what this says. I go right 4, up 2. So my new starting point is here.
Right 4, up 2.
Yep, because that's what we just said. I'm listening to what that says to get to where my new point is. Okay, how do we get all of our other points?
Go.
We know it looks like a V, right?
Yeah.
So to get all of our other points, all we have to do is just go up 1 over 1 the whole time. And then in both directions.
Identify every single up.
So once you have the solution, okay, you can stop. Okay, but you want to keep going up 1 over 1 until you find solutions.
Okay, so they're not both going to make a V, it's going to be the absolute value.
Yep. Okay, how many solutions do we have?
2.
We have 2. Circle them. They worked out nicely. How can I write that first coordinate on the left? What's its x value?
2, 4.
2, 4. And then what's the other solution?
8. 8.
Careful, other way.
8, 9, 9, 8. 10, 8.
10, 8. Yep. What if it asked me for x values?
2 and 10.
X is 2 and 10. Y values are
4, 8.
4 and 8. Good. When writing the x and y values, can I write them as coordinates?
No.
No. Okay, you do not want to write them as coordinates. I just want to know what the x value is. Okay? Questions on that question? All right, go ahead and flip to your next. Go ahead and try this one on your own. Okay. First step is what?
Separate them.
Yep, separate them. So I have y equals absolute value of x plus 2 minus 1. And my other one is y equals 2x minus 6. Okay, let's look at this red one first. What is my red graph going to look like?
A V.
A V, right? Upright or upside down?
Upright.
Upright. Okay. What does plus 2 tell me? And it's in the absolute value. What does that tell me?
It's
Let's start here. What does this minus 1 tell me?
down 1.
Down 1. And then plus 2 tells me
Left.
left 2. Okay, so that's where I get my starting point from. From the origin, I'm going to go left 2, down 1. And then how do I get all my other points?
It is,
Just
go up 1.
Up 1 over 1 the whole time. Okay. Now my blue line, where's my starting point? -6 on the y-axis, and then my slope is,
Up to
Over 2.
right 1.
remember it's always rise over run, so we're going to go up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. How many solutions are we going to have?
1.
We're going to have one solution. Why does this line not go this way?
Because it's not an absolute value.
It's not absolute value, right? That's why that line is not a V. Okay, so we have one solution. How would I write that as a solution?
Times Z 7,
7,
7.
7, is it 7? It's kind of tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is 8.
What?
It is 8.
It is 8.
It is 8. Kind of tricky. 7, 8 is our coordinate solution. What would my x value be? 7, y is 8. Yep.
I don't like how the numbers are put on.
I know. It's kind of funky. At least I have a graph this time though, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. 1 to 5 on absolute value. Other we got to talk about is quadratic. Okay, it's when we have the squared. Okay. Does anyone first rewrite like always? Our first equation is y equals x squared plus 3. Our second equation is y equals absolute value of x plus 3. Okay. Which one do we know how to graph?
Neither. I don't know.
The absolute value one. We just did one of those, right? This absolute value one, what does this plus 3 tell me?
Up 3.
Ooh, careful.
Left 3.
Left 3. Why is it left 3, not up 3?
Thinking opposite.
It's an X, not
It's an x, not a y. It's inside the absolute values, okay? So from the origin, go left 3. Am I going up or down?
left.
Right, am I going up or down at all?
No.
No. Okay, so I'm just on left 3 from the origin. How do I get the rest of my points?
It's going to be up. You go up.
It is going to be a upright V. So from there, I'm going to go up 1 over run each direction. How do we know it looks like a V?
Because it's absolute value.
Yep. And then go ahead, draw your picture. Okay. Now, looking at the quadratic function, does anyone remember what they're supposed to look like? U's, yep. And it's positive because there's no negative in front of the x squared. So we know our picture is going to look like a U. Now, think of it a similar way when it's written like this. We only have one x. Okay, so what does this plus 3 tell me?
Right 3.
Up
Left 3.
It is up 3. Okay? If it was left 3, it would be written like this with the x. Okay, but since it's not with the x, we know it's the y. So from the origin, we go up 3. Well, what does it tell you right away?
And that's where it crosses.
That's where it crosses. I want to talk about how to graph the rest of it, though. Does anyone remember from Friday how we graphed the rest of these points?
Oh, one.
Yep, it's odd numbers. Yep. So our pattern is, we call it step pattern. We have 1, 3, 5, and 7. That's our step pattern. So explain. On this, go from the starting point we just got, that positive 3. We go over 1, up 1, over 1, up 3. And then you would go over 1, up 5 if we could, right? But we can't. So go back to your starting point. How do I get all the others?
Yes.
Same thing, right? So I go over 1, up. What's my first step?
1.
Over 1, up 1, over 1, up
5.
3, remember? So let's start over. Remember, it's always over 1, up 1, over 1, up 3, and then it'd be over 1, up 5. Yep. So then go ahead, draw your picture.
Does that mean it's got 2 of these things?
Yep. It has 2 solutions, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. 2 solutions.
Why?
I have 1 here, and I have 1
3.
here.
Oh, okay.
Yep. 0, 3 is 1. The other one is
1, 4.
1, 4. Awesome. Okay. My x values. X equals
0 and 1.
0 and 1. Y equals
3 and 4.
3 and 4. Again, can I write those as coordinates?
No.
No. Okay, we're just listing the x values. What I want you to do, take out the 4x. Take out that 4x. Okay, so what I want you to have is I want you to have x squared minus 5. And I want you to have y equals 2/3 x minus 4. That's what the 2 equations I want you to graph. This one. We know how to graph both now, right? So looking at this red one, we need to find our starting point. What does that minus 5 tell me?
The down 5.
Down 5. How do we know it's down 5, not right 5?
Because it's a y.
Because it's a y. It's not with
the x.
yeah, right. It's not with the x in parentheses. Okay? So our red one, we start down 5. How do I get the rest of my points?
Up 1 over 1.
Right. The
3 over 1.
step pattern, right? Let's review this step pattern again. From my starting point, I'm going over 1, up 1, over 1, up
3.
3, over 1, up
5.
5, over 1, up.
7.
I would go up 7. Yep. How do I get the other side?
Do the same thing.
Same thing. Over 1, am I ever going to come down?
No.
No. It's always going to be the same. Over 1, up.
1.
1, over 1, up.
3.
Over 1, up.
5.
Over 1, up.
7.
What do you notice between the two sides?
They're symmetrical.
They're symmetrical, right? Go ahead and draw your picture.
How do you do that?
I messed up that one. Okay. The blue one. What kind of line is this? Oh, I just told you. What's the picture going to look like?
Straight line.
Straight line. Okay, where do I start?
Down.
-4.
-4. From here I go
Up 2 over 3.
up 2 over 3. And keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, do I need to go the other direction?
Yes.
Yes. So I go down 2 over 3. These aren't nice. Draw your line. How many solutions do I have? 2. They really aren't nice.
I got 1.5 and -3 for the first one.
I agree. I agree.
And then I got -0.
Hang on. 1.5,
I just got 0.5.
3.
Yeah.
For the second one, you got -0.5,
-4.5.
-4.5. I like it. Okay, on this one, what would my x values be?
0.5, -0.5 and 1.5.
Yep. What would my y values be?
-3, -4.5.
Careful. Oh, it is -3. Drop. -3, -4.5. Awesome. 1 to 5 on graphing quadratics that look like that. Better? Same idea as absolute values, their pictures just look different. Okay? Remembering the step pattern to help us. Okay, we have one more type to talk about, and it's if we have more than one x in our quadratic. Okay? First step is the same. What's the first step?
Rewrite it.
Rewrite it. So I have y equals x squared minus 4x minus 1. Leave some space under that one. And then my second one is y equals absolute value of x plus 2. Out of these two equations, which one do we know how to graph?
Second one.
The second one, right? What is my picture going to look like?
It's going to look like a V.
A V. Okay. What does this tell me?
Left 2.
It is left 2. Why is it left 2, not up 2?
Forget.
X is opposite.
Right, x, it's inside the absolute value, so it's the x value, and think opposite. Okay, so getting our starting point, I go left 2. How do I get the rest of my points?
Yes.
Up 1 over 1 in both directions. Okay. Now this next one, is it as easy as the last quadratic was where it tells us where it's going? No. Okay, because we have this extra x in there. Okay. Does anyone remember last week how we found our starting point? Nope. Good guess. We're going to take x equals negative b over 2a.
What?
Okay, write that formula down. X equals negative b over 2a. Now, let's label a, b, and c. What number is technically in front of the x squared?
1.
1. That's my a value. What's my b?
Negative 4.
-4. My c? -1. Okay, so that's where the ABC comes from. So let's plug it into our formula. What would my negative b be? What's my b right now?
4.
-4. So my negative of that would be 4. Divided by 2, what's a? 1. 2 times 1? 2. 4 divided by 2? 2. That's my x value. Okay, in order to get a starting point, what do we need with the x value? We need a y value, right? How are we going to find that y value?
Down.
We do. To find the y value, we're going to plug it in for our x's to our original equation. Okay? So following that, I'd have y equals 2 squared minus 4 times 2 minus 1. Does everyone see how I did that? I just took the x that we found, plugged it in for the x values. Okay? So plugging this in, 2 squared is 4, -4 times 2,
Negative 8.
-8 minus 1, 4 minus 8,
Negative 4.
-4 minus 1,
Negative 5.
-5. Okay, so I have y equals -5 and I have x equals 2. How do I write that as a coordinate? What's my x value?
Negative 5.
That's my y value. What's my x value? 2. Y value is -5. So that is my starting point. Okay, so plot that. I go 2, -5. Now, how do I get all of my other points? It's it's quadratic, so we know it's going to look like a U. So what pattern are we using? Step pattern. We're going 1, 3, 5, 7. So from here, I go over 1 up, 1 over 1 up, 3 over 1 up, 5 over 1 up, 7. How do I get the other points?
Same thing on the other side.
Same thing on the other side. Over 1 up, 1 over 1 up,
3.
over 1 up, 5 over 1 up,
7.
7. Draw your picture. They're not nice again. How many solutions do I have? 2. What would you guesstimate the one on the left is?
Negative 0.5, 1.
I would do negative 0.5 and 1.5. And then that other one, I would do 5.5 and let's just do 7. Okay. Again, on tests, worksheets, whatever, they won't be made up from me. Okay, I'll make sure they're exact. On this one, what would my x values be?
Negative 0.5 and 5.5.
Negative 0.5 and 5.5. What would my y value be?
1.5 and 7.
1.5 and 7.